Okay, today's video is going to go over creating a dreamscape and how to get started in the Photoshop app on your iPad. So we're going to start by creating new. You want your unit of measurement to be inches, 8.5 by 11, and then just make sure the orientation matches the orientation of your photo. So mine is vertical, I'll leave it there. Resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to hit create. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to place my picture that I took in the school building. And to begin, let me zoom out a little bit to see this. It's okay if some of your picture hangs off the workspace. The most important thing is that it doesn't have any white border area, so that you have basically filled the entire space is what we're looking for. I'm just gonna stretch this a little bit bigger. And now my first step typically is creating a layer mask on this. So I'm going to do that by clicking the layer mask icon, which is right here. And then I'm going to start to hide and conceal the areas that I know I want to put a new picture in. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to use my quick selection tool, and I'm just going to drag it over top of the ceiling. And I'm just double checking. It looks like I did a pretty good job along the edges here. And since I have that layer mask on, I can go to my brushes and just make sure that my color is black, and then I can paint over top of this. And then you'll see that in your layer mask pop up here of what is hidden. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and deselect, and then I'm gonna start selecting on my windows here, because I know that I want those windows to be have a different picture in them, that display window. I'm gonna make sure that the border of that window is still intact and the bottom rim here. All right, that looks pretty clean. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna make sure on my layers that I'm on the mask and not the photo. I just noticed that that got switched a little bit. I'll go ahead and hide this. All right, and now I'm gonna start putting some images in here to replace those spots that I have masked. So the first thing I'm gonna do is select this galaxy picture that I know I want to take place over the ceiling. I'm gonna open my layers here and just drag that underneath. All right. Move it into place. The other thing I'm gonna do is in the left bar, you'll notice with scale, there's a perspective option. Because this piece of the wall is kind of going back into space, I wanna get the same effect here with my glitter picture. So just dragging the corners under perspective helps. And then I'm gonna go back to skew or scale and then make that a little bit bigger and move that over. All right, click done. Now I do have a little piece of that is sticking out. So I'm gonna come over here with my lasso and just kind of carefully make a selection around that. And you can either mask that or you can just delete. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on my erase option there, and then I'm gonna deselect. Okay, so now that I have these in here, I'm looking at the school picture and the colors just don't seem to mesh. So I'm gonna go to that picture layer and I'm gonna add an adjustment layer. First, I'm gonna click on my layer box. I'm gonna make sure that the school picture is what's selected and not the mask. That's an important step because to add an adjustment layer to just the picture, it has to recognize that we're putting it on the picture. So I'm gonna hit this little plus sign and add an adjustment layer for brightness and contrast. First thing I'm gonna do is affect my brightness. Now I want the brightness to come down. I'm gonna increase the contrast, so that's my first step. And then when I click on this little sunshine, which is the brightness and contrast layer, and then this little icon will pop up. That's not gonna be there if I'm on the mask, so I'm gonna go back to this picture and I'm gonna hit this little downward arrow, and that, if you notice, this just brightened up, that just applied it to the school picture. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna click on the school picture because now I wanna change the hue and saturation. So I'm gonna go to the adjustment layer, hue and saturation. And I'm gonna start dragging this slider until I find some colors that really kind of go with the vibe of the colors I've put in here. And for me, I think that's gonna be right over here to the left. So you'll notice that now I have like kind of this pinkish purple hue on the walls, a blue door, and then a blue tint, which I think goes really well with the blue sky above. And already, because I did that underneath the brightness and contrast, you'll see the little arrows already there. It only changed that school picture. So I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna keep adding some more pictures. My first thought is it might be kind of nice seeing that that's a tile, that there's a little reflection of the galaxy that's above. So I'm gonna select this galaxy. I'm gonna make sure I'm on that layer. And then I'm gonna come over to these 3 dots, and I'm gonna duplicate that layer. Now this one, I'm actually going to drag up in front. See if I can grab this, there we go, in front of everything. I'm gonna bring it down. Oh, did I mean to do that? Bring it down here. Zoom out a little bit. And I wanna make sure it covers my floor. For right now, I'm gonna hit this little eyeball and hide this. I'm gonna go into my school picture. And I'm gonna select the floor. All right, now that my floor is selected, I'm going to go back to this layer, turn it on, and I'm gonna go ahead and mask it. So now it's just on here. Now at this point, if I open up the layer properties, which is these little slider icons here, I'm gonna bring my opacity down just a touch so it's a little bit more see-through, so about 80%. I can start to see some of the tiles. And then I'm gonna apply a blend mode. So I'm gonna just see, of these blend modes, which one kind of fits my preferences. Kind of like lighten. Ooh, overlay looks really cool. All right, so I'm gonna overlay, and then I'm going to continue to bring my opacity down, because my goal is that we're just kind of getting a reflection of those different colors in the tile, a little bit of the stars kind of coming through, but nothing too much that you can actually tell that the picture's on top of it. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna stop there. All right, now at this point, I wanna start adding some other objects. If you can tell here in my layers, I have 1, 2, 3 layers in addition to my school picture. So I just gotta keep going. Even though I have 1 picture repeated twice, that still counts as 2. I'm gonna come back over to my photos, and I'm going to open up one of these crystals here. All right, this one's nice, it's already a PNG. I'm gonna rotate it. And now I'm gonna, whoa, did not mean to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and start moving this. So it is like it is coming out of that picture. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag that down underneath, but above the glitter. And now one thing I'm going to do, I'm gonna hide my school. I'm gonna go back to my crystal. I'm gonna do object selection so that I can just click over, click and drag and select. There's always little pieces that are missing, so I can tell right here I need to add to my selection. Perfect. All right, now the whole point of doing this, keeping that selection open, I'm going to unhide, and what I'm going to do, let's see if it'll let me, nope. I'm going to go onto the mask. So to do that, I'm gonna open up the bigger view, go to my mask here. I'm gonna use my paintbrush. I'm gonna paint over that so it's actually coming out of the display case. I just noticed here I did move that a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can get this into place. Perfect. All right, so there's one of my crystals. Let me add another one. The only reason I can't see this is it's in the wrong order. So I'm gonna drag that up so I can see it. Zoom in, object selection. I'm gonna mask. And I'm gonna get this. Whoops. Into position. All right, let me hide this, come back to my picture, do my object selection, come back to this, go to my mask, use the paintbrush and allow that some room to come out. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop here because I think you kind of get the gist of where you're gonna be going with this, but the goal is that you're adding 9 layers additional to this collage. You're using your blend modes, you're using your free transform, your image adjustments, you're getting creative with your placement to kind of turn this familiar space into something a little bit bizarre that you might have had a dream about. While you're working, save it as a Photoshop document, and when you are all finished, you are going to go ahead and save it as a JPEG and submit.